Hello everyone, and thanks for watching our weather update on January 7th, 2023. So today, we're looking at the weather for the next 2 days or so in detail on met.ie, and looking at the weather for the next couple of weeks on weathercentral.de. But first of all, I'm just going to say that earlier I uploaded an ensemble special that's looking at the GFS, GEM, ECM, and Icon ensembles for the next 2 weeks or so, just seeing their trend into the future. I know that at first these graphs look really quite scary and nasty and complicated, but once you understand them, they're quite easy to read, and they give you quite a clear trend on how the weather will go over the next 2 weeks or so. So please do check that out if you actually do so. And also, I uploaded a couple of time lapses of a few cumulonimbus clouds, some hail, and beautiful sunsets. So please do watch those as well if you'd like. So going to met.ie then, and you can see that across the country we have a lot of showers at the moment, some thundery, in particular around the south coast, around Waterford, Tremor, Dungarvan, this sort of area, with a few strikes of lightning, as indicated by the crosses. The shower is currently moving into Wexford right now, losing its lightning as it does so, and just further showers into the west at the moment. We will go to the weather warnings, because we currently have a yellow warning for storms for Clare, Kerry, Galway and Mayo. So heavy showers and storms with the chance of hail may lead to spot flooding and hazardous driving conditions. Valid today at 2:01 p.m. and it will stay valid until 9 p.m. today. And a yellow wind warning for Kerry, Clare, Galway, Mayo and Donegal, and very strong winds, very, very gusty, especially near coast with wave overtopping possible. Valid earlier today at 10 a.m. and valid till tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So that warning goes into tomorrow, and by Monday, January 9th, we only have a gale warning from Carnsore, Pontrew, Valentia to Bloody Forelands, and a small craft warning for all coast of Ireland. I actually like to show you the live lightning at Ween.com, just to see if we get any activity, because it was quite a bit earlier, especially down here. Unfortunately, that's gone. But I can play it back and show you how it looks. Yeah, quite a few strikes there. Tremor, Waterfords, going back into Dungarvan. Quite a big storm that just popped up there all of a sudden. So that was quite interesting. I was watching that earlier. Also, we had quite a big line of storms into the west of the country there. Around mid-afternoon, you can see that moved in. Lots of lightning across the southwest. So yeah, been another day with a lot of lightning across the country. And I keep on saying that this is really quite exceptional to have this amount of lightning in the country at this sort of time. It really is quite exceptional to have this in the winter. It's the first time I've ever noticed this, and it's all because of the very hot summer that we had in 2022. So, going to the GFS then, we're looking at the weather for the next 2 weeks now. Just looking at the trends. So, as we've established over the past week or so, we're under the steep area of low pressure for this weekend, bringing these showers, thunderstorms, hail. Could go a bit wintry on hills tomorrow, before we go a bit colder on Monday, and we could drag a few wintry showers in quite widely. But then by Tuesday, we bring in a warm sector that goes through, and we're into a bit of a cooler sector by Wednesday. A bit stormy there on Wednesday, especially for the north. But that clears through, and we go milder for Thursday, very wet as well. Before we go colder for Friday, with that low pressure going into England and the North Sea, bringing it as transient northerly, but it's only followed by the next warm sector, which is really quite large actually. Look at that big chunk of mild air just coming up into the country and into the North Sea as well. But soon enough, that does get out of the way, and we get a colder sector again, and we go really quite cold actually into the 17th and 18th of January with a northerly wind, some snow showers possible. But then we go milder again, and look at the strength of the polar vortex on January 20th. These really, really deep colours showing temperatures, showing pressure, should I say, off the scale pretty much. Below 475 millibars there around Greenland and Iceland at 500 HPA. And then just moving on, we stay this way, westerly winds. Then right at the very end of the run, we bring a cold front down, and that's introducing this colder air from the northwest. That's that one done. ECMWF then. So same story. Low pressure off the Atlantic this weekend, quite stormy. Colder briefly on Monday before we go milder on Tuesday and Wednesday. I don't know why this isn't loading up. There we go. And we end up a bit colder as we bring in the wind from a more of a northwesterly direction. Put on the upper air temperature, you can see the air sources from Greenland. We're trying to drag the cold air from Greenland. But of course, as I mentioned before, this deeply cold air, this really brutally cold air over Greenland and Canada will never make its way with the same level of intensity across the Atlantic, because the Atlantic is just too mild and to sustain those sort of cold temperatures. And we finish up looking really quite cold with minus 12 Celsius ice through the country, and this low pressure, that could bring snow if it comes southeastwards, because the jet stream there, it is on a northwest to southeast alignment, which means that these low pressures will probably be on a northwest to southeast alignment. So this could be quite cold and zonal into January 17th. Wait and see. But there is a trend as well on the ensembles in the ensemble special to go a bit colder into the second half of January. So that's something to watch for the moment. It's the Icon run. And going through this weekend, we can still see that area of low pressures spinning around us, bringing these bands of showers and thunderstorms. And then we go cooler and wetter into the middle of the week. But then we go milder by Thursday with more rain and winds. Just very, very zonal, very, very zonal. Flat as a pancake there on Thursday, January 12th. And then we go in the same sort of pattern towards the second weekend of January. The low pressures sort of go towards Iceland and Scandinavia a bit, and we pull in the colder air from Greenland. We try to anyway. You can see that it's trying to come out of Greenland. So by the end of the Icon run, you can see we're trying to get the cold air from Greenland again. This is the Arpege run, and we go through it again. If it will load, there we go, it's perfect. So low pressure clearing early next week, only to be replaced though by more low pressure off the Atlantic. Flat as a pancake there around midweek. Look at that. Very wet, very windy, constant barrage of low pressures off the Atlantic. Typical Irish winter weather. And then moving on to the GEM run, the low pressure stays over us for tomorrow. Before on Monday starting to clear away, we get a brief bump in the isobars on Monday evening, suggesting a transient little area of high pressure, but that will just be shunted off by the area of low pressure in the Atlantic, and we bring in that cold westerly, not cold, mild, per se, into midweek, and then we bring further deep low pressure off the Atlantic into the first weekend of January, and same idea. We start to get the northwesterly wind coming in towards mid-January, and look at what happens here. We get the whole pattern, I feel like, is sort of shifting southwards. So if we run it on a bit further, I think that this seems to be part of the polar vortex coming down across the country, because this low pressure is a cold core low. You can see really cold air wraps around it, and this would just have I'm going to go into detail with this actually, even though it's such a long way out, but this is really interesting. It seems to be part of the polar vortex coming out of the Arctic over the UK. You can see, even under an area of low pressure, cloud, wind and rain, well, in this case it will be snow, we're at -1 degree or 0 degree. Winds from the west, keep in mind that's winds from the west. Total snow depth, quite a bit of snow, especially across the south of the country. That is really interesting from the GEM. And let's look at the northern hemisphere view. The polar vortex is represented by the green and purple colours. No, I should say the blue and purple colours. So you can see very nicely we got quite a strong PV polar vortex around Siberia, going towards Alaska on the side into eastern Russia, down here into areas such as the east of Russia, mainly a bit into China. Japan's right there, so it's in this general area really. But look at this, towards Ireland and England and Iceland, we get this area of the polar. And if I just run it back, I'm sort of going a bit off topic, but it's really quite interesting what this does. You can see, starting over Greenland, January 15th, this area, this blob of the polar vortex, you can see this area with blue and purple, spills out of Greenland and ends up over us. And that's, as I said, a cold core area of low pressure. And that will have, and as we established, that has snow around it, even though we're bringing the wind from west or southwesterly direction. That is really rare to see something like that happening. And right over the centre of the North Pole, we get an area of high pressure, probably blocking the building. So it'd be very interesting to see what happens from there, because you can see heights rising for Greenland. That's really quite a rare GEM run. And actually, that GEM run isn't fully out yet. I just noticed that. We're only at 234 hours, when it should be at 240 hours. But that's really quite... It's really quite shocking that it showed that. Because that... I'm just going to go on for a bit, just go on about it for a bit more, because that's what happened in December 2010, around the 17th and 18th of December. The whole polar vortex sort of, well, not the whole polar vortex, but a bit of it just came out of the Arctic and sat over us and brought loads of snow. That's a similar situation, but it's just not as cold. But I'll be keeping it an eye on it anyway. And same sort of story from the UK Met run, bringing in low pressure from the Atlantic. Mild, wet and windy, flat as a pancake, zonality keeps going. Before, same idea, this time next week, we try to turn things colder as we sort of get high pressure towards Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, low pressure towards Scandinavia, more on the eastern side of the North Atlantic, and we start to pull in a northwesterly wind. Now, the GEM run is the only run that shows the PV actually spinning out of Greenland, but these runs don't run as far out as the GEM to 240 hours, and also just say that that's only one more run. It just happened to show it. The midnight run of the GEM didn't show that, but I actually had no idea when preparing to record this video that the GEM would show such, I think, a rare scenario. So it just it really caught me by sort of like off guard, if you know what I mean. I didn't know that it would show that. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I went a bit off topic there, but it was really interesting to see the GEM show that. Anyway, tomorrow I'll be having a special on the stratosphere. We'll be keeping an eye on the SSW, and we'll be doing another update like this. So I'll see you tomorrow, but for now, enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and bye for now.